I've been a respiratory therapist for 9 years, and nothing has ever shaken me like what happened in room 209. It was supposed to be a routine night shift, 12 hours of monitoring ventilators, adjusting oxygen, and responding to codes. Nothing fancy. Just breathe in, breathe out, help them do what their bodies can't. Around 1:40 a.m., I was called to room 209. The nurse said the patient, Mr. Harold Green, was declining, elderly man. Admitted with pneumonia and a DNR order, do not resuscitate. That meant if he coded, we didn't intervene. No CPR, no defibrillation, no ventilator if he stopped breathing. Except when I got there, he was on a ventilator, a brand new one I didn't recognize. I frowned. Who put him on this? The nurse just shook her head. Wasn't me? Maybe the night doc? But Dr. Owen, our only attending that shift, hadn't touched his chart. In fact, the chart still clearly showed the DNR order, signed and notarized. The ventilator itself was strange. Sleek, white, no branding, no model number. The screen displayed vitals I didn't recognize, symbols that didn't make sense, but it was running, quietly, efficiently, and Mr. Green was breathing easier than he had all week. I started to disconnect it. We couldn't legally keep him on life support. That's when Mr. Green opened his eyes. Wide, clear, and terrified.
Don't unplug it.
I froze. He hadn't spoken in days. Mr. Green?
It doesn't want me to leave. It brought me back. But I'm not right.
He looked at me with a pleading expression, then reached up and gripped my wrist with surprising strength.
It's not a machine. It's a mouth. And I'm inside it.
His pulse started to spike. I reached for the monitor leads to check for disconnection, but when I touched the screen, it was hot, burning hot. Suddenly, the ventilator screen glitched and flickered, displaying a word, just one, stay. Then the tubing pulsed, not like mechanical pulsing, like veins. I swear I saw them swell and contract, like the ventilator was breathing for itself. The plastic was slick with condensation, but it didn't feel like water. It felt warm, organic. I yanked the power cord, but nothing happened. The screen stayed on. The machine growled. That's the only way I can describe the sound it made. Low, guttural, like something waking up. Mr. Green screamed, not in pain, but pure horror.
It's not done with me. It wants to learn how I die.
Then his chest convulsed. Not a seizure. More like something inside him was pulling him in all directions. His ribs cracked. I heard it. The ventilator's tubing tightened around his face, suctioning over his mouth like a parasite. I called a code out of pure instinct, even though I wasn't supposed to. The nurses and Dr. Owen rushed in and froze. No one moved, because they saw it too. The ventilator's screen now displayed multiple faces, human faces, screaming in silence, pixelated and distorted like corrupted video footage. Some of them looked like they were aware, trapped. Dr. Owen shouted to unplug it again. I grabbed the back panel and found something worse than wires. Flesh. It wasn't metal under the casing. It was skin. Veined, pulsing skin, stitched crudely around metal scaffolding. And it was growing, extending its tubing toward the wall outlets, the vents, the oxygen lines, feeding. A fire crew came in and shut down the power to the entire east wing. The machine finally died when the power was cut, but Mr. Green didn't make it. His body collapsed inward, like the breath had been sucked from his bones. Not a normal death, more like a deflation. The machine was gone when we returned. No one knew who took it. Administration blamed faulty charting and refused to investigate further. They buried it, fast. But I know what I saw, so I pulled the ICU monitor logs for room 209 later that night. Just once, For a second, the record flashed a phrase under ventilation source. It said, "Resuscitation denied, host retained." I've since heard rumors, other hospitals, other unexplained machines showing up, always in the middle of the night. They disappear by morning. The patients are never the same. Sometimes I dream I'm back in 209, the ventilator's in my mouth, pushing something into me instead of air. And I wake up gasping to the sound of breathing. But it's not my breathing. I used to work as a janitor at a regional hospital. It's not glamorous, but it is honest work. I liked the night shifts. Less chaos, fewer people, just the low hum of machines and my mop sliding across linoleum. The hospital felt different at night, hollowed out, more echo than building, but I never felt afraid. Until the night someone sent me to a floor that wasn't supposed to exist. It started like any other shift. I clocked in, grabbed my cart, nodded at Curtis, the new night supervisor, as he handed me a revised floor plan and some paperwork. "You've been reassigned tonight," he said without looking up. "They need someone to check on the 5th floor." I paused. "You mean 4th, right?" He looked up. "No, 5th." I laughed awkwardly. "We only have 4 floors." He furrowed his brow like I was the one confused. "Just reopened. Paperwork cleared last week. Post-op overflow. You're just doing the hall and restrooms. It won't take long." I looked down at the map he gave me. It clearly said, Floor 5, Post-operative observation. Rooms 501 through 517. Janitorial station marked near the elevator. I thought maybe the hospital had quietly reopened an old wing. It happens sometimes. Maybe the upper floor had been storage or closed for asbestos or something, and now it was active again. So I took the service elevator. My badge had never worked for level 5 before, but this time, when I scanned it, the 5 button glowed faintly blue. I hesitated a second, then pressed it. The elevator rose. The doors opened with a heavy clunk. The hallway was dim, lit by sparse overhead bulbs that flickered in a slow, almost rhythmic pulse. The floor tiles weren't the same as the rest of the hospital. They were older, stained, cracked, and cold. Much colder. Like walking into a freezer with no hum of refrigeration. No nurse's station. No sounds of monitors. No computers. Just a long hallway stretching into shadows. And humming. A woman's voice. Soft, wordless. A tune I couldn't place, almost lullaby-like but off. Not soothing, it was more like something you'd hum while digging a grave. I wheeled my cart forward slowly. The air smelled like antiseptic and rust. As I passed room 502, I saw the door was cracked open. Inside, the lights buzzed weakly. A bed sat in the center, the kind used for psych patients, complete with leather restraints dangling from the sides. Machines were plugged in, but none were on. A medical tray was overturned on the floor, a single scalpel resting in the shadows. A woman stood by the window, facing away. Long black hair, soaked, stringy. Her gown clung to her like it had been dunked in water. She was humming that tune, quiet but deliberate. I couldn't move. "Ma'am," I finally croaked, "are you supposed to be here?" She didn't turn. The humming stopped. Then she whispered, just loud enough for me to hear,
"They can see you now."
Suddenly, the lights flickered violently, and every door in the hallway slammed shut, one by one, like a chain reaction. Bang, bang, bang. My heart nearly exploded in my chest. I turned and ran. Back to the elevator, jamming the call button with trembling hands. Behind me, the humming returned. Louder now, echoing through the hall, like it was coming from every room at once. I looked back. She wasn't there. But the door to 502 was wide open. The elevator dinged and I practically fell inside, slamming the button for the lobby again and again. As the doors closed, I saw her at the end of the hall, watching. Her eyes were completely black. I reported it. Of course I did. I wasn't crazy. Someone else needed to know. But when I went to Curtis the next morning, he just stared at me blankly. "What do you mean the 5th floor?" he said. "You sent me up there last night," I snapped, shoving the floor plan at him. He took it, examined it, and gave a confused chuckle. "This is old," he said. "Way old. That wing's been shut down for decades. Floor 5 was condemned in 1990. Hell, I don't even have access clearance for that level." I told him I rode the elevator there, that my badge worked, that I saw someone, but he shook his head. I demanded to see the building's blueprints. We pulled them up together. 4 floors, basement, ER, ICU, maternity, surgery. Nothing above. No 5th floor. The elevator button for 5 didn't even exist anymore. I went back to check myself that night. Nothing but smooth metal. No evidence there had ever been a 5th floor button at all. But here's the thing. Every few weeks since that night, when I'm cleaning near the elevators, I see something. A brief flicker. The 5 button lights up for just a second, then goes dark again. Outside, I looked up at the hospital's facade, counting the windows. There were 5 rows, 5 levels of windows, but the building is only 4 floors tall. At the top, near the corner, 1 window was lit. Just one, and I swear I saw her behind the glass. I'm a nurse, have been for over 12 years. I've seen broken bones poking through skin, mothers sobbing over lifeless children, old men fighting off death with rattling breaths and yellowed eyes. But nothing prepared me for what happened in room 616. It was supposed to be an ordinary night shift. I work at Street Aloras General, one of those old hospitals they keep remodeling but can't quite modernize. The walls still have the bones of the original 1920s, sanatorium buried beneath plaster and paint. Most staff don't talk about the old wing, but the elevator still accidentally stops there sometimes. And every once in a while, someone hears screaming from vents that are no longer connected to anything. But that night, it was just me, 2 techs, and Dr. Lewis covering the floor. Quiet, too quiet. The kind that makes your skin tighten like a rubber band. Around 2:17 a.m., I was charting when I noticed something weird on the monitor bank. Room 616's vitals were all flat. No heart rate, no respiration. Code blue. I jumped up, adrenaline kicking in, and bolted down the hall calling for the crash cart. Only, room 616 wasn't occupied. It had been closed for months for remodeling, a leaky ceiling and mold issues. No one had been in there since spring. Still, I burst in. The room was cold, much colder than the hallway, and my breath fogged. The lights flickered once, then steadied. The bed was made, crisp and untouched, except there was someone in it. A woman. She looked about 40, skin pale as porcelain, black hair fanned across the pillow. No chart, no bracelet, no oxygen, no IV line. Her eyes were closed, but I swear she was smiling faintly. I backed out, heart racing, and called to the tech behind me, "Get Dr. Lewis now. We have a patient in 616. The tech stared past me, eyes wide. "You're joking, right?" I turned. The bed was empty. The room looked just as it had before. Dusty, undisturbed, unused. I checked the monitor bank again. Room 616's vitals were still flatlining. Later, Dr. Lewis chalked it up to stress and too much caffeine. I started to think maybe I'd hallucinated. Maybe I was finally cracking. But the next night, it happened again. 2:17 a.m. Exactly. Code blue. Room 616. This time, I brought the tech with me. Made him walk in first. He saw her too. Same woman. Pale skin. Black hair. Same expression. Serene. Like she was dreaming of something lovely. She opened her eyes for a split second and they were completely white. The monitor above her head beeped once. Then the lights exploded. Glass everywhere. The tech screamed, but when we turned around, the bed was empty again. That was the last time anyone would enter room 616 willingly. We tried everything. Security padlocked the door. Maintenance shut off power to the room, but the monitor kept lighting up. Every night. 2:17 a.m. Flatline. Beep. Gone. One of the techs quit on the spot. I tried to dig into old records, find out who the woman was. Turns out, room 616 was where they used to house critical psych patients, those too unstable for the main wards. Decades ago, there was a woman named Miriam Cass, admitted in 1950. Recurrent catatonia, suicidal ideation, auditory hallucinations. Said the walls breathe secrets and that the night would call her back. She hanged herself in room 616, the 17th of February, 1952. No photo in the file, but the description matched. Pale, black hair, serene smile. The coroner's notes said rigor mortis set in faster than expected, that the air was unnaturally cold, and that her eyes wouldn't close. I don't work nights anymore. No one does. Not on that floor. The monitors for 616 are still there, still hooked up, though we've long since removed the equipment inside. But every the 17th of February, at 2:17 a.m., a heartbeat appears on the screen. Just one beep, and then flatline. They wheeled me into the hospital on a rainy Thursday. My ribs cracked from a car crash I barely remember. I remember pain, mostly. Blinding, electric, all-consuming. The ER lights stabbed my eyes. Someone said I was lucky and that I could have died. They say that like it's a comfort. I was admitted to the overnight observation wing. The nurse, a woman with kind eyes and the clipped tone of someone who's seen too much, led me down a long corridor. It was sterile, white tiles on the floor, and fluorescent lights flicker above us. Every room had a number, 21, 23, 25, odd numbers on the left, even on the right. We stopped in front of a door. It had no number. The nurse fumbled with the key. "We're short on beds," she mumbled. "This one's usually for overflow." There was a hesitation in her voice, like she didn't quite believe her own excuse. I noticed she didn't follow me in, just left the key in the lock and said she'd check on me later. The room was wrong. It had the shape of a hospital room, bed, heart monitor, pale blue walls, but everything felt off. The lights were too dim, the walls too close. The corners seemed warped, like they were bending away from me. I chalked it up to meds. I slept, or I thought I did, because I heard whispering. It started soft, like someone mumbling behind the wall. I couldn't make out the words. I pressed the call button. No one came. The whispering grew louder, angry, like dozens of voices arguing over each other. I tried to get out of bed, but my legs wouldn't move. Not pain, paralysis. My body was stone, my heart hammering in my chest. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. The voices stopped all at once, and the silence after felt even worse. I woke up drenched in sweat. Morning light through the tiny window. A tray of untouched breakfast on the table. My ribs still hurt, but I could move again. I convinced myself it was a nightmare, the side effect of the painkillers. But then I noticed the clock. It was ticking backwards. I stared at it for a full minute. The second hand swept counterclockwise. I blinked, looked away, looked back. It was ticking normally again. I didn't tell anyone. Didn't want them to think I was losing it. That afternoon, a man in a hospital gown appeared in the hallway outside my room. Pale skin, sunken eyes. He stared straight at me through the tiny window in the door. Didn't blink, didn't move. I buzzed the nurse, but by the time she arrived, he was gone. "I swear someone was just out there," I said. She looked down the hall. No one was there. That night, I heard footsteps. Not outside, they were in my room. They started by the bed and circled me slowly. I couldn't see anything, but I felt someone standing over me, breathing. The air was cold, my skin crawled. Then something whispered in my ear.
"You were supposed to die."
My scream finally came. It brought 2 nurses running. They found me curled up on the floor, sobbing, blood trickling from my nose. By the 4th day, reality started to slip. I saw things in the mirror, faces behind mine, shadowy, twisted things with hollow eyes and slit mouths. The lights above my bed flickered in Morse code. I started writing the patterns down. The message repeated, "Stay in the room." A doctor finally came to check on me, not one I recognized. He wore an outdated white coat, stained yellow around the collar. His ID badge was blank, no name, just a black barcode. He didn't ask how I was feeling, just stood by the window, his back to me, and said, "You're close now. The room likes you. Most don't last this long." I asked him what he meant, and when he turned to face me, his eyes were gone, just 2 gaping sockets. I blacked out. When I woke up, I was alone again. Except, the window showed a brick wall now. There was no light, no sky, just bricks, as if the outside world had vanished. The heart monitor beeped once, then flatlined, but I was still breathing. That was 3 days ago. The nurses don't come anymore. No food tray, no sounds in the hallway. My phone won't turn on. The lights haven't turned off since. I tried opening the door. It leads to nothing, just black. I don't think I'm in a hospital anymore. It has no number because it doesn't exist on this plane. It's a place between death and life, a waiting room for souls that slip through the cracks. I don't know how long I'll be here. I don't know if I'll die or if I already did. But something is getting closer. I can feel it. It watches me from the corners. It whispers the same phrase every night.
"You stayed too long."
And now the walls are pulsing, breathing. The bed is sinking. My limbs are fading. There's no call button anymore. Only the door. And it's finally opening.